Hello and welcome back. In our previous video, we talked about why you selected the job and why you selected the company that you're looking to work for. In this video, we want to return back to our competencies and talk about competency mapping to help us get ready to be able to interview and put our best foot forward for our next job. So let's return back to the dashboard where we was able to look at those competencies needed for the particular job that we're pursuing. And in looking at the dashboard, we was able to determine whether or not, because the dashboard had a traffic light of red, yellow, green, indicating whether or not green was ready to go, yellow, not ready, or had a little bit, and red, not ready at all. And so we want to return back to that and start to drill down to the next level of our competencies. And so it might be helpful to pull out a piece of paper and begin to draw out a mapping or something visual to kind of help you visualize what we're going to be discussing in this video. So for example, you might have a competency such as IT skills. And so now we want to drill down into what's called a sub-competencies, which shows evidence that we have mastered the competencies necessary for the job. So how would I show that I am proficient in IT skills? Maybe I have some previous experience with CRM systems. Maybe I've done some data entry. And so that in itself, and me be able to excel very well in those fields, have shown that I'm proficient in IT skills. Let's look at another example, such as communication skills. And how would I be able to articulate to a potential employer that I'm proficient with communication skills that are necessary for the job in which they're looking to potentially hire me for? So I might show evidence and talk about some experience that I've done in written communication as well as verbal communications or verbal skills to show that I'm proficient, again, in communication for this job. One last example might be interpersonal skills. Have I shown the ability to lead others? Have I shown the ability to be able to plan skills or to plan projects in a workplace? There are some other competencies that we might want to consider in how we can show sub-competencies or evidence of the competency, such as knowledge of your field. How can you articulate and prove to an employer that you have knowledge of your particular field? Another example might be ethical and social responsibility. You know, we have to understand that ethical and social responsibility in one industry, such as automotive, might be totally different than another industry such as retail. So how would I be able to articulate to my potential employer that I have ethical and social responsibility and I'm proficient in that for this particular job? Another example might be problem-solving skills as well as problem analysis solution. You have the ability to have a problem presented to you and then go and find a solution and able to implement that solution and to see assessment of it, how it was successful. Another one might be understanding your organization. Not only do I understand the industry, such as automotive as our example that we've been using in past videos, but now I understand the organization, such as Ford Motor Company, and I'm able to understand how Ford Motor Company may differ from General Motors or Chrysler, even though we're operating in the same industry. Another one is self-directed and active learning. How am I able to show a potential employer that I am self-directed, I can take initiative? Not only do I bring forth a lot of skills that can be immediately put into action, but I'm also a good listener where I can take information given to me, process it internally, and then put in together a process to articulate or solve whatever situation that might be presented to me. So what have we learned in this video? We're learning the next steps of being able to look at our competencies and drill down to figure out what sub-competencies will be necessary to show evidence to a potential employer that we have proficiency in this competency that is needed for a particular position. In our next video, we will talk about putting together a strategic plan, going a little bit deeper into coming up with a plan of our evidence and for our sub-competencies that lead to proficiency of our competencies themselves. Thank you.